Watcher people, welcome to this week's Sunday sermon. When I'm out and about with a dog who's just finding his way down there somewhere. Where is he? There he is. Quite an important one this week for the Sunday sermon. If I sort of take a gauge of what's going on in the world right now, the thing that comes up to me more than anything is how everyone just seems so negative, you know? And it's a lot of the time it feels to me that the negative emotional field of human beings is the one that's on display at the moment. You know, like, we're seeing so much division now, so much blame. There's just a saturation of negative news, of war, of lack, of shortages. And I mean, look, fundamentally, if we want to go back to the real crux of it, whatever the influence is on this planet, that other source, that's a negative influence, isn't it? All right? So it's infected every facet of our reality. It's infected us. And it's made us become desensitized to a lot of negativity, a lot of drama, a lot of violence. And I think ultimately what that's doing is it's making us less human. And I feel like that's part of the agenda, right? The big agenda, which is transhumanism, right? Is to do away with us, or at least to do away with that God particle in us, our true divine connection to source. Trying to do away with that, so then we are just mechanical, sterile, robotic, and it can do whatever it wants with us then, can't it? So knowing this, and if you don't know this, you're probably choking on your Sunday tea or your Sunday coffee. It's like, fuck it, that's a bit of a strong message on an Easter Sunday, Danny. The point isn't to scare anyone. The point is just to give a general overview of what's going on. And if we can agree on that, if we can agree that there is an agenda which feels incredibly negative, and it is about disempowerment, and it's about robbing us of our individualism, of our uniqueness, of our creativity, and having us turn into the machines that are already very, very prevalent in our modern day lives. Don't worry, it's going to get to the good bit. I am still positive, honestly, we're getting there. The point for me is knowing all this, and this is why I think sometimes I stand alone. And I know there's loads of you lot who agree with me because you're here, right? You've made the long, arduous journey to click our 2 emails, to subscribe to our newsletter. You've done it. You've overcome Everest, you know. You've took yourself away from social media and actually gone through the incredibly complicated procedure of clicking on 2 emails to join us. So I understand, right, I'm preaching to the converted a lot of the time, right? But that's not going to stop me. Because it's good to reiterate this, right? We've been saturated with like a repetition and repeated rhetoric over and over again, which is you know, mind control. It's programming. So it's good that there's voices out there who are going to say something a bit off-piste, you know, counter the fucking nefarious narrative. I was always a good counter puncher, actually. It was yeah. That's what I feel like I'm doing now, one way or the other. So, because I know all this, and it's not something I think, right? It's not something I think at all. It's something I know. I know innately, inherently, inside of me. I know that whatever that force out there is, that is very, 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 very happy with us divided. It's very happy when we're choosing to blame one faction of people or another faction of people in our world. If we're blaming that religion over there, or we're blaming that colour over there, or we're blaming these people over there, or it's just happy with the blame. What it doesn't want is for us to realise that through accountability, through ownership, through responsibility, we are able to thrive in this situation, you know? And by doing so, we're transmuting the negative right there. Because straight away, as soon as I feel that, like, hold on a minute, like, yeah, this stuff's going on, but what am I gonna do? Am I gonna lay down for it? Am I gonna go, oh, do you know what? It's happening, there's nothing I can do about it, little old me. Man, that's just the number one fucking spell, the number one illusion that has been impregnated into our nuts since we were babies. Little old me, I can't do nothing about that. That's what they want us to believe. They're hoping we believe that. And I don't believe that at all. I really, really don't. And you might say that I'm misguided, or I'm crazy, or even I'm arrogant, but I truly believe I'm here to change the world. And I believe I'm gonna do so in a big fucking way. That is never ever, I've got no doubts about that at all. And that feeling's only getting more and more stronger in me all the time. So I feel that one of the things is to be aware that there is a negative force and influence on this earth, but it's just not to let it infect us. And to counter that, if we're going back to counter punching again, see that? That's me old corkscrew right. To counteract that again, what we have to do is be positive. And that's not putting your head in the sand, right? Because I don't feel like my head's in the sand at all. I feel like I've got a fucking good idea of what's going on in our world. I really do. But also stepping back from that and having a bit of a loftier perspective, I'm very aware that, like, whatever it is out there, like, it's hoping. It's really, really counting on me being complicit in my own demise. And what I mean by that is that, like, that negative stuff's out there. Yeah, of course it is. So what, we're just going to let it infect us? We're just going to go, oh, do you know what? It's just too much. I can't take it. That's what it wants you to say. It wants to hear that. And by saying that, all we're doing is disempowering ourselves. Because it's easy. The easy game is to run out around and go, yeah, it's they're to blame, they're to blame, they're to blame. I've been saying it for weeks, right? They're to blame, they're to blame. It's so much easier to say that than to step back and take accountability for how we, as individuals, are part of this collective demise of mankind. And you can quite easily do that. Like, where are you spending your money? What are you putting your focus on? What are you thinking? What are you attending to? You know, what are your core emotions and how do they manifest themselves in our reality? There's so many things that are, like, very, very actual that we're doing to be complicit in all this. But people don't want to hear that. You know, I think it's much easier for people to say, well, them people over there, they're to blame for your problems. And then people run with it because they never have to stop. They never have to sit down and have a look at themselves. You know, and ultimately, we're little cells all around this world. We're all little cells, mankind, and we've all been infected with this stuff. So if we if we're able to overcome the infection that's taken on us, this negative influence that's taken over us, if all of a sudden, if I rid myself of that negative influence, right, and I now am positive cell, then what do you think happens if everyone does that? It's a fucking tsunami then, isn't it? It's a tsunami of positivity, and we raise the vibration of this world, and whatever it is out there, that other influence, it can't live here anymore. It's already struggling now because of what's going on, because this stuff is coming up, you know, and the world is changing for the better. And it doesn't look like that because who's reporting it? You know, who's reporting it? Like, you can't trust any of this shit you see on these devices. You can't trust anything you see on your TV. You can't trust anything you read in your paper, if anyone even reads a fucking paper anymore. Can't trust none of that. That's not a fair, just and balanced take on humanity, you know? Like, I feel like there's some incredible stuff going on in our world, and it's not being reported because they don't want us to hear that. They don't want us to see that. But things are changing. But that doesn't mean we've got to rest on our laurels and let someone else do it for us. We've all got to stand up and be counted now. All of us, every single one of us. And that starts by being accountable for your part in all this, and my part in all this. Like, how can we uncover the kinder parts of ourselves, the more compassionate parts of ourselves, the non-judgmental parts of ourselves? How can we change our habits in our lifestyle that are not going to feed the beast system, that are not going to spend time attending and focusing our beautiful energy in places that it shouldn't be attended to? You know, there's so many things that we can do, and I think much of the time it's a lot easier for us to blame the boogeyman, so we don't really have to attend to any of that stuff, because change, people don't, like, a lot of the time, like, we don't want to change, do we? Because the old part of ourselves is easier, you know? But we have to be uncomfortable. And I feel that's one of the positive things that is happening, is that we're being pushed into discomfort now. And so what does that do? Like, if you hear, like, there's two types of people in the world, isn't there? There's like the people who go, fuck me, food shortages. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And then their fear and their worry and their hypothetical drama, it incapacitates them. And then there's other people who go, right, what can I do about that? There's food shortages. Okay, what can I do about that? First thing about that straight away is just remembering that if you're watching this and you're a fully grown adult, you don't really need to fucking eat. Do you know what I mean? It's so funny. Like, you hear all these, like, oh my God, there's food shortages. What are you going to do? Fucking hell, we're going to eat my 3 meals a day. You don't fucking need 3 meals a day. No one does. It's mental, mate. I would say probably that we like, a fully grown adult could get away with eating once in 2 days. You know? Really. But they want us to believe that we need food, because then they got us again, haven't they? They got us round the short and curlies. You know, and I get it. Look, we're all in different places, aren't we? Everyone's tied into the system in their own unique way. Right? And I'm not trying to tell you that my answers are right for you. That's never been my game. And I'm also never telling you that I've got your answers. That's not it either. But I do feel fundamentally there's a core message that we can all feel inside of us that is going to be able to be materialised in our little world with the same vein and the same theme and the same core instruction, which is that every time we are delivered this supposed negative, this news flash of fucking drama, very often it's an invitation for us to go a little bit deeper into becoming the better version of ourselves that we're waiting to be. Because if you hear food shortages and you need food, well, then the answer's to grow it, isn't it? And people will go, oh yeah, but I live in a tower block. And it's like, well, that's just another excuse again, isn't it? Because, like, I've seen hundreds of fucking documentaries in the last few years and before of people growing mad amounts of food on their rooftops, on their balconies, in their fucking homes. You know? And I'm not saying that everyone's physically able to do that either, but I think a lot of the time, what we do straight away is that we just jump into a victimhood and say, like, oh yeah, this is what's stopping me. I can't do that. No, sorry, I live in a tower block. No, there's no parks around me. There's no land around me. I can't buy land. Like, it's all about looking at your unique situation and trying to make yourself the best version applicable to that situation now. If the situation can't change, then what's the point in moaning about it? You know? And then that's coming from a place of compassion and confrontation. Like, I do truly care. I empathise with people's situations, but I also know that we're our own fucking worst enemy half the time. You know, when we've got this wonderful fucking mind that is so creative, like, to be able to think outside the box. There's so many things that we can do, and very often victimhood, it becomes a blockage for that creativity. It becomes a blockage for us to be able to really break out of those old paradigms of victimhood, of, I don't know, failure, of negativity. And I feel that if we see a lot of this stuff as an invitation to overcome it, then I think a lot of what we were worried about, it doesn't really necessarily need to be such a massive negative influence in our lives. You know, because there's so many people out there doing the same thing as well, and eventually, hopefully, what I hope is that we all get together. You know, that's what will happen one day, is that all of the people who are on the same page, the like-hearted, like-minded human beings out there, are going to create their own networks and communities to help each other. But that's not going to happen if you're paralysed by fear, sitting there believing everything you read and see on these fucking devices. You know? So if we know that there's a negative force out there, then what does that negative force want? It wants us to mirror it, doesn't it? It wants to shine negativity out to us, and we shine it back to it, and then it feeds off of that. So the answer to me is that I refuse. I just refuse. Saying no thanks. No thanks, I'm not going to be a part of that negativity. And listen, that doesn't always work. Some days it's harder. Some days you have days where I've had a couple. So I've just had to go and jump through some right bureaucratic fucking hoops. And that's made me feel a little bit like, ugh, you know? So like there are days where it's going to be a little bit more challenging, and days where we have to be a little bit more aware of being gentle to ourselves and having self-care. But most of the time, this fucking thing's lying to us, and it's telling us that the world's negative. It's telling us we can't, which is another negative signal. Can't. Can't is the real fucking C word. How comes people don't send me emails when I say can't on here? As soon as I say the word cunt, I get 4 or 5 emails like, I can't believe you said that on Easter Sunday, cunt. Oh no. Can't. Ultimately, we have to understand that the real revolution is when we become the architects of our own reality. When we start building from what we've got available to us right now, today. And a new year's started very recently, you know. And I think it's incredibly important now for us to be aware of that negative influence and how that is creating this false, elusive reality in our world that is making us act like that. That little old me, what can I do about it? You can do everything. They've spent, like, if you realise how much money these fucking institutes, how much energy, money and time these institutes, these think tanks, how much fucking time and money they've spent on making you feel disempowered, of making you feel that you can't change the world, that you can't do anything. They've literally, like, that's all they've been doing since the dawn of their power, is trying to convince us of our disempowerment, that we're powerless. You know, surely, like, that to me is a red flag. Like, if someone is going out their way and trying so hard to make me feel disempowered, that to me would say that they're frightened of my power. So where is that power? How do I access that power? And of course, for everyone, it's different again, isn't it? You know, like I'm not fucking Harry Potter. I don't come on here, wave a wand and fix everything. That's not how this works. You know, and sometimes what I'm saying, maybe you need to figure out a way to creatively apply that to your own life. You know, like we're all at different stages, we've all got different situations. But again, the core value is that if we remember that this negative influence is trying to influence us negatively, then to me that's just an invitation just to go, right, well, I'm going to live completely the opposite to that. I'm going to be positive, I'm going to be empowered, I'm going to be practical, I'm going to be pragmatic, I'm going to be dynamic, and I'm just going to get on with it. I'm going to get on with building this new world because that's what I've always dreamed of. And like I say, we are all little cells all around the world, all human beings, little lights, right? Just imagine it like this. It's a good example, you know? You could teach your kids this. We're all little lights, yeah? I'm going to tell my kids this later, actually. This is going to be bedtime story tonight. We're all little lights, yeah, around the world. All little human beings are little lights. And like you've got some people that we say like they're NPCs, right? The non-player characters that are just the fucking like robots walking around, the soulless, grey-eyed fucking robots. Right, I think they're the lowest light out there, yeah? They're dim, like literally dim, yeah? They're dim. And then you've got other people who's like, you can feel and see auras and lights of people, and you can feel their energy and you can feel their light. And lots of people, yeah, have got that ability to shine that light even higher and even brighter. Now, when we do that, the world changes. Maybe only very small in our very close proximity, but it changes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's evidence to that. It changes on how we feel about ourselves and how if we feel positive and we feel gumption and we feel tenacity and we feel all of that good stuff, then our close proximity is going to change. So if everyone does that, if all of the lights, if all us little lights around the world, if we get so bright, then that shadow is obliterated, isn't it? That negative influence, that shadow on our planet is obliterated. That darkness is gone. And then it's happy, happy, joy, joy time. But we got to be the shining example of that, you know, because so many people out there, they are caught up in division. They're caught up in blame. They're caught up in, oh, I can't do anything, little old me. So those of us who realise we can change the fucking world, and we've got to do it. We've got to be the shining example of that, the torchbearers of a new world. One that's been built on kindness and compassion and love. It's fucking simple, mate. We've overcomplicated it. Anyway, I'm going to go and have a nice little positive bouncy walk now with my dude, wherever he is. Dude, do you want to say happy Easter to everyone? Doodles, what are you doing? He's like, how about a haircut? I'm fucking roasting. Anyway, people, much love to you all, and I hope this this little positive chat gives you that feeling that it's you anyway, you know? It's just me reminding you. That's what I'm here to do. I'm the messenger. The next thing I was going to say as well is that MYGA tonight is going to be all about this subject. It was going to be about something else, the Sovereignty Masterclass, but we're going to shift that to next week because I feel this is utmost importance to get people to really start to realise that through the materialisation of that positivity inside of us, the world changes. And it's important for us all to anchor that in now. All right? So let that positivity land in your heart, and happy fucking Sunday.